Welcome back. This is Sandy with Sandy's Organized Chaos, and today we're going to be doing the Snowflake Peekaboo Tumbler, which could be used for Christmas or even just the winter season. As always, I'll make sure to put everything into the description box below that I used today so that way you guys can shop those items if you would like to. So if you're new to my channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and let's wake up, prep these tumblers, and slay all day. Let's do this. Today I am using a 22-ounce slim tumbler that I purchased through the Stainless Depot. I've never used this kind of tumbler before, but I really like the shape of it so far. Now I went ahead and prepped my tumbler and I gave it this ombre effect of just a gloss white and candy pink, and those are both by Rustoleum. Now I'm going to be applying my glitter with the epoxy method. If you don't like to use the epoxy method, it's perfectly fine to go ahead and use your Mod Podge or however you guys like to apply your glitter to your tumbler. Now when I'm using chunky glitters, because I'm using 2 chunky glitters for this, I'm going to apply a little bit more than you typically would. For when you go to glitter your tumblers, you want to add a little bit more just so that way those chunky glitters have enough room to shift around and lay flat once they are applied. I want to say altogether I probably used about 5 mLs of epoxy for this. Now I'm just going to set this off to the side. I'm going to let it kind of lay flat because you don't want any peaks and valleys in your epoxy. And I'm going to show you guys the glitter that I'll be using today. Today I'm using Pretty in Pink, and I will also be using Sally. And both of these glitters are from my glitter shop, socglitters.com, but you can obviously use any type of glitters you already have on hand for this project. Now we're just going to apply our glitter in just a basic ombre fashion. So I'm going to start with my bottom first. I'm going to take my Pretty in Pink and I'm just going to hold my tumbler upright and I'm just going to let those glitters cascade down the side. Now I'm not going to fully do up the glitters just yet. I want to get both of my glitters on first and then we'll kind of fill it in after we do that. Now with the Sally, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to flip it the other way and I'm just going to apply my glitter. Now after I applied Sally, I went ahead and I decided to add some fine glitters in between it. So I'm actually going to take some Agenda, which is also from my glitter shop as well, and I'm going to fully fill in the top portion where the Sally is. Now, after I fully fill in everything, I came back through and sprinkled a little bit more Pretty in Pink and all that. You just want to make sure you tap all these little chunkies down so that way there's nothing poking up when you go to apply your coat of epoxy over top of the raw glitter. Now I let this cure about 5-6 hours, then I'm ready to apply my coat of epoxy right over top of my raw glitter here. I used about 25 ml, if not 30 mLs of epoxy to go over top of this, and then I let that cure as well. Now here it is the next day. This is after I put that flood coat of epoxy over my raw glitter. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to trim up around my rim really well, and I'm actually going to give it a really good sanding because it was just a little bit too lumpy for me still. So I wanted to put another coat of epoxy over top of this just to make sure that we have an extremely smooth surface for our peekaboo. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to sand it down really well. I'm going to clean it off really good with some rubbing alcohol and a rag, and I'm going to put another coat of epoxy over top of this. I probably put about 10 to 15 mLs of epoxy over top of this just to make sure that it was nice and smooth for this next round. While that second coat of epoxy is curing, I'm going to go ahead and talk to you guys about my snowflakes. I just got my snowflakes right off of Creative Fabrica, but you guys can just use snowflakes that you find from wherever. You just want to make sure that they're really thick and that they're going to be easy to kind of peel back when you do your peekaboo, because sometimes snowflakes can be a little tricky. So just make sure you pick out a nice thick snowflake so that way it really helps the glitter shine through underneath as well. So I just go ahead and do up an entire sheet of my decals when I do them, just so that way I know I have extras on hand if I want to make up multiple tumblers. So I'm going to go ahead and get that cut and we'll move on to the next step. And something I almost forgot to mention, but I'm sure you could see from the image there, I like to do up multiple sizes of the snowflakes. So I like really big snowflakes, I like smaller snowflakes, you could even do medium snowflakes in between. And when I do that, what I'll do is I'll apply my bigger snowflakes first, and then I'll just come back through and fill in the rest of it with the smaller size snowflakes. And you just want to be able to put as many as you possibly can onto the tumbler without overlapping them. So I'm going to go ahead and apply my snowflakes. I'm going to make sure that they're nice and smooth down so that way our paint doesn't seep through underneath, and we'll be ready to move on to the next step. All right, we are outside and we're ready to apply our ombre. I'm going to use the same exact colors that we did for the base. I'm going to use candy pink and just a basic gloss white. Now, as you can see, I kind of taped off the inside of my tumbler just to help with any overspray that might occur. Because of the way that I hold my tumbler when I do my ombres, it really runs the chance of getting paint all up in there, so anything to kind of protect it. So as you can see, I'm basically holding my tumbler straight out from me, and I'm going to take my colors that I want to use and I'm just going to apply them in that direction. Now, as you can see, as I'm going, I'm just making sure to turn my tumbler as I go, and I really just want the end portion of my spray paint, you know how it gets poofier down at the end. So if you're holding your spray paint can close, you're going to get a real thicker line of that, but you want just the end of the spray paint to really kind of make everything blend together, and you just want to keep going until you get the effect that you'd like. So as you see, I did my pink, and I'm going to come back through with my white one more time just to make sure that my pink didn't come too far up. Because of the way we hold it, it kind of cascades across the whole thing, and there we go. We did our ombre. I know you guys got this. This is extremely easy. Just keep practicing, keep going. I know you guys got this. Now, after I spray painted, I'm going to take it back into my garage because it's kind of cold and rainy today. So I'm going to take it into my garage. I'm going to let that dry up really good. I let it dry probably for about an hour, if not a little bit longer, because we want it nice and cured before we start peeling back these decals. We don't want it sticky at all. Now, as I was peeling back my decals, because we want to start at the tip, typically, like that's what we want to do. So I was trying to get it from this angle and it just kept coming off, and I'm like, oh no, what have I done? But then I realized if you start at the center of the snowflake first and then pull outwards really slow, it goes a lot better, and all those little details will come off with it rather than having to pick it out a little piece at a time, which I'm going to show you guys here in a second. So here I'm going to show you a little bit better. I'm just going to use my X-Acto knife and kind of get it started, and I'm just going to use my nails, but if you have tweezers, you can go ahead and use that. But then I just take it and I start pulling, and I just rock it back and forth, and I just go straight up the little snowflake, and that's how I peeled all my little decals off. Now, after I get all my little decals peeled off here, I'm going to go ahead and apply another coat of epoxy over top of this before I add my finishing decals. I just want to do that because it the little snowflake peekaboos have little dents in the paint, and I just want to make sure I have another smooth surface for those finishing decals. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to let that turn on my turner overnight. I'm going to hit it up really good with my torch to make sure that I pop any of those little micro bubbles, and we're ready to finish it up with our little decals. Now for my finishing decals, I'm just going to take one of the snowflakes that I really liked, and I'm going to do a offset of it. And I actually brought it all the way down to 0.14 for my offset, which is a very, very thin offset. But if you guys want to make it a little bit thicker, you can obviously do that. But I just want to tell you guys that when you go to cut this, you definitely want to make sure that your blade is nice and sharp, and you also want to make sure that there's no little vinyl stuck to it, just to make sure that these little delicate lines are cut nice and smooth. Now, after I applied the offset I'd like to do, I'm going to go ahead and simply highlight it. I'm going to come down and I'm going to slice my image, and I'm just going to reveal the outline that will be on the outside of our tumbler. This is our finishing little decal that we're going to apply all around our tumbler. Now I'm going to make these a lot bigger than I did the other ones. I did a couple little ones and I did a couple big ones, but you want them big. Like I did it almost 4 inches big, like they're big. So make sure that you do them the correct size. Maybe take your measuring tape and measure just to make sure. And then I'm going to go ahead and get these cut out. Now the vinyl that I chose for this, it is by Cricut, and this is a silver thread holographic. So you see it has like threads in it rather than a typical holographic that's all over the place. So that's the kind of vinyl that I'm using today for this. So I'm going to go ahead and get this all peeled back. You just want to be pretty careful with it. Like I said, there's delicate little lines, but it did weed very easily for me. I just kind of took my time and just made sure that I didn't accidentally pull anything up. You go to apply these, this is where you can just be very whimsical. You can go ahead and overlap these. That's the look that you're going for. So just fill up your tumbler with all these little outlines, and it's really just going to give it so much character, and I know your customers are going to love it. Now, because these lines are so delicate, I was using my transfer tape at first, but then I just went back to my try and true. When I work with any type of holographic vinyl, I just go back to my painter's tape. It works really well. So but this is actually a premium vinyl. So if you guys know the difference between the premium and the premium vinyl actually has, it's not a paper backing. It's like a very slick back. So that way it comes off a lot easier. So if you're using a paper back, you know, it runs the chance of the paper backing being stuck to these delicate little lines. So I would highly suggest maybe using the premium vinyl, just so that way it has that nice slick backing for these delicate little lines to peel off of. Now, after I finish getting all my extra details on here, I'm going to go ahead and give it its last two finishing coats of epoxy. Now, in one of those last finishing coats, I went ahead and applied some extra little snowflakes. This is just called Hello Winter. It's a little opal snowflake. I just felt like it really added to the whole theme of the tumbler. I'm going to let those cure up really well, and then they are ready to go. Whether you take this design and duplicate it as is, or you take it and let it inspire you to create something that is completely your own, I hope that you guys had a lot of fun watching this tutorial today. Again, if you're new to my channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys next time.